Alright guys, shooting left here. Got a little project that I've been wanting to try with one of my CZ mags. This is one of the stock mags that come with the SPO1 that I got. Not the biggest fan of it, just because the spring is real light. You put like 10 rounds, or even if you fully load it, you get that rattle of a few rounds. And I had one of these just break on me one time. The followers, like part of the follower, still works just fine, but part of it broke. And also, the base plate is a little big. When I actually did one of my first big IDPA competitions a couple weeks ago, I was lucky I was running the Meknar mags, because this would not have fit in the box and my gun probably would have been legal to shoot, technically. But what I'm going to try doing is polishing this up, just for shits and giggles. I did it to, I think, one of my 1911 mags I had at one point to try. I'm going to try it with this, see how well it works, see if it improves anything, does anything. So if it doesn't work, I'm not too worried about it, because once again, I'm not a big fan of this mag. So if nothing else, it can be a practice mag, or it'll turn into a bedside mag. But what I need is your magazine. I got various wet and dry sandpaper. I think this is 800. I got 320, 800, and then basically an assortment of 1015 and 2000 grit, and then my little jar of water, and the half-gallon jugs were great for little chemical jars, putting solvents in, things like that, in case you don't have something laying around. So yeah. So first things first, need to disassemble the magazine. So we got a little button here. Just press that down, push it forward, comes out, and then let's put this off to the side. Is this the one? Okay. So you got your follower, base plate, and then there's your magazine. So first step will be the 320. So we got the 320 sandpaper. Let's get it nice and wet. I know there's a "that's what she said" joke right there. So, and it's just usually the first few sandpapers are just to take off the old finish. That's why you do something a little coarse. But the wet and dry is what you want to use, just so you're not taking too much off. So you can see right there, so we're starting to take the finish off. So I'm going to do the 320 here for a little bit. Alright, so it's been a few minutes, probably 5 or less minutes with the 320, and this is where I'm at so far. Now note, if you're a clean freak, you may want to wear gloves. It can get a little dirty. I don't mind. I'm a mechanic by trade, so this little bit doesn't bother me. So yeah, this is where I'm at, just in a few minutes of just using the 320. And if it feels like you're not doing anything, you just have to get a new piece. And you want to constantly dip it, and I ended up having to get another mat just because it was getting really wet. But you want to do like a small, like a small little area. You can see how this area is changing a little bit. Yeah, you do that, and then you dip it. You just want to keep it lubricated, essentially. That way you don't take too much off. Because if you spend a little too much time in one area, then you can kind of take too much off in one area to try to be. You want to try to be as even as possible and stuff. That's why using like a power tool wouldn't necessarily be the best, because if you stay too long in one area, you could actually take, basically grind into the magazine instead of just taking off the finish and polishing the metal. So I'm probably going to spend a few more minutes with the 320 to get a little bit more shiny overall instead of all the black here and there. So yeah, we'll see what it is in a few more minutes. Done with the 320. As you can see, it does a pretty good job. Just taking the old finish off and getting it fairly shiny and smooth already. So next will be the 800. You want to try to get in, fairly uniform. Doesn't matter if you have little dark spots, but you want to do a little form because once you get the finish off, most of it's just smoothing it out and polishing it out. So I'm going to take the 800, and you can do, like if you had a variety pack and there's in between, like you could start with like a, a 180 or 150 or whatever grit it is that's down that low. But you want to be careful to go too hard on it. Like I said, you don't want to take too much of the material off itself. And I've found that if you do like all the little steps in between, like this is to start with 320 and this is 800, all the little steps in between, sometimes it really doesn't do much except for waste your time and cramp your hand from all the sanding. So you can fairly jump. It's usually the higher end stuff you want to kind of step through. That way you're not taking a lot off at one point, like the 1015 and 2000. But we're going to do the 800 and see where we go. Done with the 800 grit, and you can see that that's a lot better. A lot more uniform color, really smooths everything out. Got that nice shine to it. You can see there's some spaces right here where I might go back over it real quick with the 800. And then don't worry about too much on color sometimes, because like this is going to be a wear item. Like, this is where it goes in, so it's always going to hit the frame sometimes. So if you can't get, or if you have a marking there and that you can't get out, don't spend all day on it trying to get it out. Sometimes you just might not. You just want it, just smooth out. It still polishes over it, anyways. So now we're going to go to the 1000 and then work our ways up, and we'll see. And then now the 1000, the higher grits, are going to really bring some of that more mirror finish to it and just brighten it up a little more and smooth it out a little bit. And then when we're totally done, we'll end it with the wheel and use some of the flits, which is some great stuff. Use it for the internals of the CZ. So yeah, we'll keep going. So working with the 1000 grit, and you can see getting a little more of that shine. It just takes time. So the thing, downside of polishing is, it's time consuming. Depending on which method you use. Sometimes you can just use, a Dremel with a polishing wheel, and it can work. Downfall is, you can take off a little too much material because of the RPMs that everything's spinning at. It just depends on your goal, what you're working on, and so forth, like that. This method is definitely longer, but you can get a little better results. You can kind of control how much metal and stuff or material you are polishing off. So that way, if you like in these grooves here, you can get stuff down in there and control how much you're getting in there to polish. Whereas with like a Dremel and wheel, and you just try to force it in there to dig it out, you could take some of that off. Probably not enough to really make it matter, but you're still taking off material. And I ain't worrying too much down here on these parts, just because it's the bottom, and the base plate's gonna go over that anyways, so I ain't too worried about it. So then just wipe it off, get all the sanding debris off of it. Where'd you go? And then you can see that's already starting to get that mirror finish. You can see the reflections on that. So this is actually working out pretty well. So now my next one, be the 1500. So we're gonna, this once again, just nice and wet. There's no order to this, you know. You don't like to go up and down, circles. Sometimes the swirling can get just as good as polish, if not a little better. So, but yeah, just keep doing that. We're going to do that for a little while, and then we'll have one stage left. Finishing up with the 1500 grip. There's that. Just clean it off, and you can see that's looking pretty sweet. Look at that mirror finish in there. Ooh. Yeah. So we got one last stage left, and that's with the 2000. That was 800. So we got the 2000. Once again, we just dip it. Repeat the process. So I'm going to do this for a few minutes. So finished with the 2000 grip, and you can see that's really nice. There you go. You can actually see the camera and stuff in the reflection. This is basically how we started. This is a Metgar 10 rounder. I got a couple of 10 rounders just because I shoot SSP and production glass, which only do 10 rounds anyways. So I figured just try for the 10 rounders. But you can see that this is just that standard metal coating, where I have a couple other ones that have like an anti-friction coating and whatnot. Almost has a little bit more of a plasticky feel almost. But you can see the difference. Basically, this is how we started, and this is how we ended. But what we're going to do now is take the Dremel and the Flitz, which is good stuff, and then you can use this stuff very sparingly. That's actually a lot. Those things you can use. Hold on to that stuff. Now I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this. It's just a light pressure, just enough to get it going. So yeah, so you don't want to just dig into it. So there's that. I'm just going to give it a nice. You can see it shines it just a little bit more. But yeah, so I'm going to finish, and what that really does is really smooth it out. So yeah, gonna finish the rest and show you how it turns out. Alright, so finished polishing up, and look at that. Ooh. That is shiny and smooth. You can see a lot of that just doesn't look as smooth because that's, you know, a lot of machining marks and stuff, but still feels smooth and all that. So what we're going to do is reassemble this. Let's see. Now I didn't polish or sand the lips here. So I didn't want to take anything out that retains the rounds. So we put a retainer in. I mean the follower, excuse me. Magazine in for the spring. Now, one thing you want to make sure that little lip that you can see right there goes inside. Because I actually had one of these at a match, one of my videos. Went to load and the rounds just sprinkled all over the round. One thing you always want to do is check. Just because it pops in on this doesn't mean it's necessarily locked in, so you want to really make sure it's locked. But wipe my hands a little bit. So I got my CZ, my new double alpha grips. I haven't done a review on these yet just because I haven't really used them yet. Just put them on, haven't shot any matches, so yeah, but whew, that's smooth. Yeah, buddy. You can just see that just comes right out. What we're also going to do is see how she feels. And before you guys freak out, yes, these are going to be live rounds. Using my blue bullets. If you haven't, if any of you guys reload, I don't know if you've ever seen blue bullets. Some of you have, some of you haven't. They're a local company out of North Carolina. Sorry, phone. Good prices. You can get about 1,000 rounds of 115 9mm for about 70, 80 bucks, about 80 bucks, give or take, plus shipping. It's about 80 bucks plus some shipping. Good rounds. They're polymer coated, so you save a little bit there, and they shoot real nice. Ain't had any problems with them. So what we're gonna do is, for a weight test, we're gonna load them up. So yes, I can use dummy rounds, but dummy rounds I don't think weigh the same as a... Now I normally only load 10 when I do shoot competitions because of the production class or SSP class. So it's blowing up my phone. So we're going to just load this up just for a full weight test. This is the 18 round magazines. It's a little different doing this with a camera in front of you. So that's fully loaded, but it's really tough on that one. And this is why I don't really like these. Get that rattle. And it kind of goes down for each round you take out. But if you go fully loaded, which I think is like almost 19 probably, takes it off, but it's really tough to get that last one in. But you know, there's upgraded springs that you do, so if this works out well, I might just get the upgraded spring and a different base plate and rock and roll it. Now, for safety, let me see if I can't bring this up just a hair. For safety, keep that on, and there is nothing in the chamber, as you guys can see. I'm not usually a big fan of always having to unload and show clear for everybody, but in this case I will, since got loaded live rounds around and I know it, but and I won't wreck it. See, that's why it's a little tough. A little locked down. But that just drops out. So that is smooth as silk. Holy crap! Wow. And there, it's in there. So you didn't take any huge amounts of metal off to where it messes with the catch. The edges. I mean, let's try this kind of a. That's about 90. That comes out. So if you're just off of 90, and it comes right out. I mean, I'll show you that. This camera's in a little bit at a downward angle, but that's pretty much perpendicular to the table. And that comes out just like that, but if you tilt it, I don't know, probably 2 degrees, comes out. And this is just a hair off canter, comes right out. The man, that is smooth. So, still clear. Mag was empty, so still clear, empty mag. Safety back on. This is one of my 10 rounders that we're using. And let's try that. See, that's probably about the same where we were. And it doesn't go all the way out. Actually, hold on one second. Let's try it with another full load magazine. This is the 19 round Metgar, and this actually has that like that polymer, not really coating, polymer coating, but it's a anti-friction coating or whatever. But this is 19 rounds, so only 1 round more. So we'll do that's 90. Pops out pretty decent. Slightly off canter. And I think this is maybe this is probably more than where we were with the other one. And it still didn't go all the way out. You almost be here. And it really is slow compared to that, just slides out. I mean, you can just feel it coming, like you can see the speed also it comes out. Oopsie. That's one downfall, is having a camera in your face. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it feels still smooth. I think the polished is a little bit. I mean, you can see there's a speed difference. Yeah, I mean, this feels. Yeah, I mean, feels like the polish just comes out a little faster. It also acts like you might have taken a little bit off, so it's not going to drag on anything. So it's just going to slide out. God, man, it feels like you're almost not even doing anything. Just so you know, still clear. Safety back on. Finger off the trigger. Nowhere near it. No, no, no. But yeah, so that's polishing the mags. Turns out really nice. Some people like that. Nice shiny, indoor ranges. It's good to have it sometimes. That way you can see them. So that way they don't fall into a little corner or kick under a table. But yeah, that's the polishing of the magazine. I think it turned out pretty well. I think it makes me want to maybe get an upgraded spring that they sell, a little more power, and different base plate. Maybe one kind of like this that I have on these 10 rounds and my other 16 round Metgars. But yeah, any question, guys, let me know. And what I'm actually going to do after this video, which I probably won't show just because of the time process, is take it back apart and frog lube it. Basically, you just heat the metal up, paste on the frog lube, let it sit for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then you wipe it off. Because what that will do is penetrate the metal. Since we basically took off all the coatings, it will, the frog lube will penetrate the metal and then basically protect it a little bit so it doesn't maybe rust up as much. Granted, you just want to make sure you keep it clean. If you don't like frog lube or something like that, you could probably use a light coat of oil just to keep it, from rusting. And if you drop it on the dirt and stuff, you want to clean it, and just a really light, thin coat of oil will work. But there you go, guys. Thanks for watching.